So I could start with when I found out that I was pregnant, because I hated being pregnant. It was pretty rough, but that makes the story so much longer. So I'll just start with the hospital, because the entire hospital experience was terrible. Now, there were no complications or anything. Nothing went wrong. He came out perfect. I was fine. He was fine. But my doctor told me that I had to induce by the 29th. So I did. And I wish I hadn't, because I like to do things just naturally as they should come. So getting induced, takes that away from me. And then the contractions that are caused by the Pitocins are really painful compared to natural contractions. And because of that, and having contractions every 30 seconds and almost crying, I got an epidural, which I would never, ever do again. And if I could go back in time, I would not do it, because the doctor wanted to show off, and he messed up my epidural big time. I was leaking spinal fluid heavily, and so I could hardly hold Oliver in the hospital. I didn't change any diapers in the hospital. I really wanted to breastfeed, but because of the epidural problems, I couldn't, because I couldn't even look down to make sure he was on and latched. So I feel like all of those things have contributed to my postpartum depression with, if I hadn't induced, then maybe my contractions would have been less painful and I wouldn't have had to get an epidural and I could have breastfed. And I always just felt really bad about not breastfeeding, and Oliver hardly ever had any of my milk. Every 5 days or something he could get some. But the first 2 weeks after he was born were really rough for me. I could barely get out of bed. I could barely do anything. There was one time I was home alone with him for 4 hours, which doesn't seem like a big deal. Oh, but it was so horrible. Fortunately, he was still, just sleeping most of the time. But I had to change one diaper, and that caused me to throw up so much that I was peeing onto the floor, because when I throw up, I pee. So I wasn't really around for his first 2 weeks. Fortunately, my mom was able to come up, and I don't know what I would have done if I had had him during the school year, because she's a teacher. She wouldn't have been available. I don't know what would have happened. So because I wasn't there around the first couple days, couple weeks, couldn't really hold him that much or do anything for him. I kind of feel like he thinks his dad is his mom, and that I'm his dad, just because of who he got the skin to skin with and the touching, and my postpartum was really bad the first 2 months or something, because with baby blues it usually hits you when the baby is born, but with postpartum it typically comes after 2 weeks, and it was basically 2 weeks to the day when mine started. And I was just I was the typical crying, and there was one time Oliver started whining in his crib, so I picked him up, but then not long after I had to put him on the couch or on the bed because I was crying too hard to hold him, just for no reason. I couldn't even explain it. And I had to get on some meds. So I'm on 2 high doses of 2 different antidepressants. And I'm still not normal. I mean, most of the bad and horrible thoughts have subsided, but not all the time, not 100%. Still have like little interest in doing anything, and it's just like I get so stressed out about everything: job, money, taking care of Oliver. And there are times when, because I'm mostly a stay-at-home mom, so like on Sunday nights when I realize that my husband is going to be at work tomorrow, I will get like anxiety about, even though, you know, I've done this 100 times with him, I'll get anxiety about it just being me and Oliver at home, just because I'm worried about like not being able to handle it. And luckily most of the bad thoughts have been about me. I hate to say this because I feel like such a bad mom, but it's normal for people who go through this. There was one night where I was just so stressed maybe, or tired, whatever, and I was trying to, you know, split the nights with my husband and let him get some sleep, and then I'd go out and he'd go out with the baby, but I just was like, nope, I cannot be alone with him tonight, so I'm just sleeping all night. And I hate myself for having those thoughts, but nothing happened, nothing will happen. He's happy, he's safe, he's loved, but it's been very, very difficult, and it's really affected my normal life. Like, I used to love taking showers. Like, sometimes I would even want to take 2 a day, just because I like showering. And now, I can barely bring myself to do it. And there's been times like I've gotten my robe on, I've gone in there, gone to the bathroom, and then I just leave and go lie in bed. And seriously, like, the only way I can shower is if my husband is around to hold me accountable. So he'll be like, no, you're not leaving the bathroom, you haven't showered. And, you know, I can't just get wet and then leave, because he'll be like, oh, did you shave? Did you wash? Did you do your hair? And usually I would shave every shower. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, it's winter, you don't need to shave. I still shave every day in the winter, but I shave like once a week now. And I am tired all the time. But I can't sleep. I will be so tired, I'm nearly falling asleep at 6:30. Then I go to bed at 9:30. And I don't fall asleep until 11:30. And then I'm plagued with nightmares all night long. And then I wake up at 7:30 or 8, depending on how good Oliver's being. And then I'm dead tired all day long. So hopefully this passes. You know, there's 6 more months till I'm out of the postpartum period. You know, that ends after a year, and hopefully things balance out then. I don't want to be on meds for the rest of my life, but if I have to be, then that sucks. But I can't go 2 days without my meds without it being seriously bad. So, and I thought I was pregnant a few months ago. And I was like freaking out because I'm like, things went so bad when I had Oliver. What if, you know, I get baby blues or postpartum depression with this one? Or, you know, I'm still battling postpartum from Oliver. How am I going to take care of another one? Fortunately, I wasn't pregnant, so don't have to worry about that. And sometimes, though, when I'm having bad days, I think that, like, I gave my happiness to Oliver. Like, when he was born, the happiness went from me into him. But he does give it back to me in forms of laughs and smiles. But sometimes, a few months ago, I was like thinking that maybe he doesn't love me because, like, he would cry with me, but then when his dad or his sister took him, he would stop crying. Or he would fall asleep and, like, cuddle on his dad's chest, but if I hold him while he's asleep, he like wakes up and he pops his head back up and gets fussy, and he like won't look me in the eyes. Like in the morning he will, but then in the evening, maybe it's just because there's more people around and so he's more excited, or he's looked at me all day, but he will like not look at me, and when he does look at me, he won't look me in the eyes. So I'm like, that's also part of what makes me think that, you know, he thinks his dad is his mom and his mom is his dad. But thank goodness for modern medicine, right?